The instructions for this problem are to express as a sum or difference of logs and expand completely. I need to make sure that I'm using one of the 3 logarithm rules that we're learning in this section. First thing to do is look at your argument and determine if your argument is a product, a power, or a quotient as the big picture. Notice here that the entire argument is not raised to a power. There are pieces of the argument that are, but the entire thing is not. So it's not a power. Notice there are pieces that are being multiplied, but the entire argument is not a product. Finally, notice that the entire argument is a quotient. We have the quotient bar in between, and so we can start by using the quotient rule. The quotient rule says you're going to rewrite a single log of a quotient as the difference of 2 logs. So this would be rewritten as log of 5a minus, and remember here I always say put a bracket, log of 4b squared. Remember, the reason I put a bracket is when I use the quotient rule, there's always a negative sign in between the 2 logs, and that negative sign could potentially need to be distributed to more than 1 log at a later time. From here, I then want to examine these 2 arguments. The first one is most definitely a product. The second one is also a product. I do see a power, but the power is only applied to the b, so I must wait on that part. So my next step is to use the product rule. The product rule says if I'm taking the log of a product, I rewrite it as the sum of 2 logs. So this would be rewritten as log of 5 plus log of a. Now keep the minus, also keep the brackets. This one would be rewritten as log of 4 plus log of b squared. Now I'm going back to check my arguments to see what is left. If you have a single value inside your argument, you're done unless you can simplify that log anymore. Notice that each of these logs are log base 10, so none of the first 3 would simplify. The last one is not just a single piece in the argument, it's an argument to a power, and so I'm going to use the power rule on that piece. So keeping everything else the way it is until I get to the very last log. I would have here, power rule says I take the power that's on my argument and I multiply it to the front of the log and then remove it from the argument. Okay, last step here is to take this negative and distribute it in front of these 2 logs. So I have log base 10 of 5, which does not reduce. I have log base 10 of a, which does not reduce. And then minus log base 10 of 4, which does not reduce. And then minus 2 log base 10 of b, which does not reduce as well. If you're ever wondering if you can combine logs, so in other words here I have a log of 5 and a log of 4, I wonder if we can actually subtract those. Think of logs as like terms. If your arguments are not the same, you cannot combine them. In other words, to be able to combine those 2, I'd have to have both of them having the same argument. For example, log of 5 minus log of 5 would reduce to 0. But in this case, since the arguments are different, those 2 logs do not combine.